moving from authoritarian regimes to more participatory governance with democratic accountability. In some instances, even more democratic than some of the established systems. I wouldn't mention Europe or United States. In any event, this is a living testament to the healthy political processes and growth of civil societies in the region. This bodes well for political stability and governance. In that spirit, I put it to you that it is time for Southeast Asia. I put it to you reminds me of my umpteen and years of court cases. Always I put it to you, the attorney generals here. When they have a point, they say, I put it to you. And you don't have a choice but to say yes. So I put it to you that it is time for Southeast Asia and Europe to redefine the terms of our engagement as equals, as co-creators, as partners in a world yearning for balance. My meetings yesterday, including with Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, and later this evening with President Macron, form part of a deliberate journey to renew and rebalance ties between two regions bound by history but not confined by it. Hence, to expand, to enhance, and to fortify. Few regions have felt the weight of today's uncertainty as acutely as Europe. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has not only shaken the continent's sense of security, but also its assumptions. Shaken the continent's sense of security, but its assumptions. What are those? About deterrence, dependence, the durability of peace. A war many thought impossible became a reckoning that shattered the illusion of permanence and reminded us that even in the heart of Europe, history still breathes. Europe finds itself grappling with uncertainty in its oldest alliance. As debates over military spending and collective resolve unfold, the balance of transatlantic compact is being tested in ways not seen for generations. Europe's gaze has turned eastward. Indo-Pacific strategies have taken shape, not only among European capitals, but also at the level of the Union itself. Among the voices shaping this vision of policy and diplomacy is President Macron's recent call for a new coalition for open trade, open dialogue, and a rule-based order which offers an insightful articulation of European role in Asia, one that is principled, cooperative, and forward-looking. We know that there was a time in the not too distant past that this pecking order was necessitated on the hallowed doctrine of mission civilisatrice, civilizing mission. I'm going to be a Sorbonne for a few weeks to pronounce rightly. That was proclaimed as justification for colonialism and imperialism. It was sacred because there was supposedly a moral duty to spread Western values, Western culture and civilization to non-Western societies. Today, while no claim to such patronizing pretensions will be forthcoming, nevertheless, terms of engagement between Europe and Southeast Asia are yet to be fully calibrated. To be sure, we welcome partners, but we welcome them as equals, not as condescending colloquitors, not as instrument for containment, not as a cover for anxiety, and not as projections of other people's wars and fears. We urge Europe to resist the impulse to universalize its predicaments and predilections, big or small. Our region, and ASEAN in particular, is not a geopolitical mirror to be held up in another's crisis. It has its own past, its own calculations, and its own form of restraint. Strategic clarity is just as essential in Asia as it is in Europe. But it must begin with the recognition of difference. Just as we resist fatalism of conflict, we must resist the cynicism that too often surrounds trade. For Southeast Asia and Europe to build a meaningful partnership, our economic engagement must be guided by the same principles we ask of security. What? Respect, flexibility, and restraint. Because in both arenas, security and commerce, the central question is the same. Do we act to impose, or we do understand to accommodate? Trade must be a bridge, not a barrier. No, let us be clear. We are not, and we do not ask for indulgence. We ask only that Europe meet us where we are, not where its models presume we ought to be. What we seek is not favors, but fairness, not exemption, but equity. If we are to conclude agreements of ambition and substance, they must be grounded not only in economic logic, but in mutual comprehension. No. Son Excellence, ladies and gentlemen, normally in universities you avoid the Son Excellence business because students don't like it. At least when I was a student, they what excellence? Everybody is excellent. With due apologies to the ambassador. There are too many ambassadors here. I'll be outvoted. Now, in this city, in this great city of Paris, I was just singing in the car. I love Paris in the springtime, in the summer, in the winter. My God, all seasons of the year. And why do I love Paris? Because my love is here, right? Now, in this city, it was here. When I was in my first year at university, I learned about equality, fraternity. And fraternity was not a creation, it's not a new word, but it's a creation, the zeitgeist of the times that stood for decades and centuries. Now, fraternity was a moral proposition to the world. It asked us to see others not as strangers to be managed, but as equals deserving of dignity. It suggested that beyond sovereignty lies something deeper, solidarity. Yet today, that idea, fraternity, is strained. Across too many societies, fraternity ends at the age of identity. Islamophobia, at times coded, at times overt, has become in certain circles a socially acceptable prejudice. It manifests not only in policies, but in postures, in the quiet exclusion of Muslim voices, in the framing out of Muslims as permanent suspects in the story of the West. Viewed in this light, fraternity, therefore, is not merely an empty catchphrase, but expropriated to be used selectively in the pursuit of insidious racism and xenophobia. The French Marcel Proust, in English we say Marcel Proust, has shown us what is to be gathered and learnt in search of lost time. Let me struggle with the French. À la recherche du temps perdu. As long as you understand, khalas. The French understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah, poor pronunciation. You know, I learned the pronunciation from my driver. So if it is wrongly pronounced, it's not his mistake, but mine. Perhaps if we journey back to the 8th century AD, we could relearn some of them too. the research of lost. Conjuring a different impression by sowing discord and animosity. In his seminal work, Muhammad and Charlemagne, Henry Pirenne, Henry Pirenne, the great historian, posits that it is not for Islam. But if not for Islam, the Carolingian dynasty would probably never have seen the light of the day. The logical conclusion, therefore, is that without if we claim to uphold universal values, then let them be universal. If we speak of liberty, and dignity, equality, they must extend to those who do not look, worship, or live like the majority. Nowhere is this more urgent than in Gaza. What is happening there is not merely a tragedy. It is a collapse of conscience, of empathy, of leadership, and the ability to distinguish suffering from strategy. We have seen schools turn to rubble, hospitals without power, families erased in seconds. When we fail to acknowledge the humanity in others, we risk losing our own. The statistics are not mere numbers. 20 dead, 300 killed, not numbers. For each represents a human story of mothers, children, parents, and their experiences should evoke not just sympathy, but a call to action in each of us. We speak of human rights. I hear continuous hectoring about democracy and human rights, and the imperative to protect the sanctity of life, and yet the global community appears to be powerless to put an end to this protracted genocide. The imperative for moral clarity extends to all. Unfortunately, what we witness is the double standards, the hypocrisy, and the moral haziness in how the world approaches the question of Iran. No one is above international law, but neither should any country be beyond dialogue. The selective application of norms tears away the very fabric of the rules-based order. Now, this is again about finding coherence. For without it, words like order, rules, justice begin to lose their meaning. And we are to rebuild trust across continents, across faith, and across histories. Europe and ASEAN, for example. It must begin with a renewal of that idea that dignity is not a scarce resource. It is indeed a shared inheritance. Let that be the basis of our engagement. Let it be the measure by which history will judge whether we rose to meet this moment without unwavering resolve and utmost courage, or decile from it, succumbing to divisiveness, despair, and passivity. Europe is of West, yes, and ASEAN and Asia is East. But the twain, unlike the famous Kipling couplet, the twain shall meet, not by denying our differences, but by transcending them with the courage of our conviction, affirming our commitment with that tenacity of purpose and determination, knowing that our efforts today will influence generations to come. Mercy, thank you.